you could let these walls talk for 5 minutes,
Mhm.
what do you think they would say about what they've seen and heard over the 45 years of the firm? Who are you? What do you do?
My name is Kate Gerwig, and I'm a Senior Financial Advisor with John Ullman and Associates. Graduated several decades ago with a Bachelor in Sciences degree, banking and science. Now, banking and finance. I chose this particular degree because I figured that the education I would get and the career I could follow would be useful to me as well as to others. And I was there for 5 years, but then relocated back to this area when I wanted to raise my family. When I got here, it was suggested that I interview with John Ullman. Someone knew my background and said, hey, starting a new kind of field here, maybe this is something that you could do that would be helpful. And it's kind of, the rest is history. John at the time was a maverick in the financial planning industry. He wanted to have a situation where we would charge a fee based on assets under management as opposed to having to sell product to charge commissions. And financial planning was really in its infancy back then. Now, fast forward now, most people have a dentist as well as a financial planner. It's pretty much an industry in 45 years that has really developed into something that just about everybody feels that they could have and be able to turn to for help year over year.
So, given your tenure here at the firm and how long you've been doing this and building it up year over year to helping build the firm into what it is now, I guess why do you do what you do? What has kept you going for so long to be able to help build this place into what it is today?
So it's, planning is ageless. And when you think about, as a human being, we all have a unique combination of heredity and experiences. And especially when you've been doing it as many years as I have, there's a wisdom that you learn over the years that becomes very useful to share with other folks who are just starting to try to figure out how their financial life is going to go. So you've got to have, over the years, short-term and long-term needs that change. Sometimes, I don't know, you have to make an adjustment because there's been a crisis that's forced upon you, or potentially a good thing, a positive event that comes along, and all of a sudden you need say, hey, what do I have to change to adjust for all that? The financial planning industry and what John had in mind with a comprehensive combination of planning as well as investments, I mean, that's what we've been doing here for 45 years at this point. And I love the fact that even though I'm the pivot person, the individual who the client would come to talk to, I know them the best. I can rely on our tax department that's here year over year for our tax planning. We have our own internal investment management. We have our own internal trading. We have our own, the back office that takes care of all the paperwork that a lot of folks don't like to have to deal with. We're professionals at that. And it's a year over year thing. And planning, should be conservative and it should be very intentional, but it should also be fun. You need to be able to take stock over time. I help people get organized. I help them implement. I help them stay focused because you never know when you're going to have to pivot. There's going to be a downturn or something on the good side, as I mentioned before, that you really need to come back to and say, hey, how does this impact my financial situation, and get organized once again.
So over that time, you've obviously had a chance to work with a lot of different people, a lot of different situations. I guess what's been one of the most rewarding parts of what you do here in working with those clients and building long-term relationships you know, over all that time that's gone by? What's been one of the most rewarding parts of that?
The continuity of being with a family for decades, if you can imagine. I've been here 35 years, I believe I mentioned that. I started with a lot of folks who were just starting to consider their retirement. How will this work? Now, fast forward 30 some years, they are well in retirement, but now they have family members who are just getting started, the next generation. A good example is I have a client couple. They're both in the Army, which means at this point in time they're moving around a lot, their career. They are continuing their education, moving from state to state, have decided to start a family. Next thing you know, we're helping with tax planning, we're tackling with starting college plans, we've already looked at their estate plan, this type of thing. In this situation, for instance, the husband decided he was going to be helping with a nanny that they hired, and thought, yes, I can figure out how to take care of the nanny payroll situation. Well, it didn't go as planned, so we were able to step in and make sure that everything was taken care of. But it's just something where I know that they can call, they can say, hey, we're going to be buying a house. Let's talk about how to take care of that. How should we pay for a new car? It's just a very, very wonderful experience to be a phone call away, an email away, to sit down, reset, be helpful, help them have a better career financially, talk about their retirement plans. As you can see, it's just a comprehensive and I believe very valuable service that I'm more than happy to provide these folks. They're great, great couple and great family.
So the premise behind this series is to celebrate our 45th anniversary with the folks that have been here to help get us to the 45-year mark. And one question I ask everybody is if the walls of John Ullman and Associates can talk. From the days back in the Corning office to now expanding out to Rhinebeck and the new HQ here. These walls have seen a lot of people come through. They've heard a lot of conversations. They've seen a lot of different things happen. If you could let these walls talk for 5 minutes, what do you think they would say about what they've seen and heard over the 45 years of the firm?
A lot of that has to do with the fact that technology has changed so much for everybody, whether you're a client or you work here. And a lot of that adjustment is very unnerving to some, especially because they get accustomed to a certain. I remember when we didn't have the internet at our desktop, for instance. But the type of relationship we have with clients is essentially count on us. We'll be there. We've got the staffing to see us through all these new changes. I will say that we don't use anything in the cloud, which is very different from a lot of firms, which is a concern for some folks about confidentiality. But even if the brokers change, even if the legislation changes, technology changes, there's so many things that can change. We're here, as my role as an advisor, we are here to say, hey, I'm the one that you could still call. I'll be following this. I understand what your situation is. I understand what your balance sheet is. I know what your family values are. You can call on me and we'll be pivoting through all this with you as ups and downs of the markets occur, changes in the tax laws occur. I'm here. We're here. And that's the way we'd like folks to look at us, as an extension of their family, as part of their business partner. And I have to say there's a lot more than just planning that going on. There's a lot of friendships that develop and a lot of private information that we can take and make a much better circumstance comprehensively for the family. And that's a tenet here, even though the technology and the legislation changes all the time.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me, Kate. Appreciate it.
Thank you.